Hi guys, no doubt at this stage you've heard the interview Nick Ferrari had with Treasury Minister Emma Reynolds and her inability to respond to some of the LBC hosts' questions. When I first heard the interview, I was pretty much face-palming the whole way through it. However, on a second listen, I had a bit more sympathy for Emma and less for Nick Ferrari. The blame here is 50-50, and I'll explain why in just a moment. But first, have a listen to how it went down.
Just remind listeners where the new crossing is, where it takes off and where it lands.
It's... you'll forgive me, I can't recall the exact landing zones.
So the crossing that you're talking about, you don't know where it is?
Well, it's the Lower Thames crossing,
yes,
which has been in planning for many, many years.
It's almost as if you were reading from a piece of paper there, isn't it? you don't actually know where it takes off from or where it lands, do you?
You'll forgive me, Nick, but this is part of a broader 10-year infrastructure strategy that we will be launching later this week.
It is about the 19th word in the press release, the Lower Thames Crossing. Let me tell you, Gravesend in Kent, Tilbury in Essex, those are the two towns.
Tilbury, yeah. It was Tilbury that I couldn't... Yeah.
How much is it going to cost?
Yeah. Well, it's going to cost quite a lot of money, but we today are announcing £590 million towards that cost.
How much is the crossing going to cost, Secretary?
Well, overall, it's going to cost several £billion.
How many? You don't know that either, do you, actually?
Well, it has already cost quite a lot of money.
I don't wish to be rude to you personally. Is there much point continuing this conversation? Because you don't know where a bridge starts, you don't know where it ends, and you don't know how much it costs. So is there any point continuing?
As I said, the money that we are putting in is crucial to unlocking this project, which has been years in planning.
Secretary, you don't know how much it is.
Well, it's several billion, as I've said.
It's 10 billion, to put you out of your misery.
10 billion.
Yeah, so it's not several, it's 10. What does this say about the economic stewardship of this country, that someone in your position of importance, you don't know where a bridge starts, you don't know where it ends, and you don't know how much it costs? When will the Hammersmith Bridge problem be resolved?
I'm not here to talk about the Hammersmith Bridge. I'm not a transport minister.
But you're talking about infrastructure. You're talking... Sorry, I thought we just talked about 3,000 bridges that are unable to support the heaviest vehicles.
I don't have the detail of the Hammersmith Bridge.
But that's one of the key bridges that can't support any vehicles, let alone the heaviest of vehicles. So clearly that must figure in this.
The plan, the money that we are allocating today will go to such bridges, to go to repair bridges, yes, and to make sure that those bridges can take a load. And as you said at the top, there are 3,000 bridges across the country that can't take a load.
Right. And one key one is the Hammersmith Bridge, so that's not part of this at all.
There will be Hammersmith Bridge and others will be, but that will be down to local. I mean, look, I can't come on your programme and give you the dates for every 3,000 bridge that will be.
I'm merely asking that one of particularly. It's been closed, I think, for around 6 years. We hear of a new initiative by the newish government, 3,000 bridges. One of the ones that really jumps off the page, of course, is Hammersmith Bridge. And you don't know whether any of these funds are going towards Hammersmith. Is that correct?
I can't name every one of the 3,000 bridges.
Respectfully, I've not asked for that, have I, Secretary? I've just asked, can you confirm that it's going to get some of the funds from this £1 billion?
Well, further detail will be set out in written statements to Parliament.
That was painful. But on second viewing, as I said, the blame is 50-50. Now, you may think, well, the problem here is the minister. The minister didn't know what the hell she was talking about, and Nick Ferrari was asking legitimate questions. I want to start with Nick Ferrari first. Nick Ferrari obviously had somebody on who was not related. Their brief is not related to transport. So why are you asking her specific questions about transport, for example, the Hammersmith Bridge, if she's from the Treasury? She's not from the Department of Transport. Now, she hinted herself, she sort of mentioned it pretty briefly, I'm not a transport minister. She should have actually doubled down on that, and I'll get to her in a moment. But Nick Ferrari was looking for a gotcha. Oh, I'll get on a Treasury minister and I'll grill them on the Hammersmith Bridge. How the hell is somebody from the Treasury supposed to know about the Hammersmith Bridge? Unless it was given to them by Number 10 in order to go on to this interview, to do this interview. So, Now, the problem with Emma Reynolds, is that she wasn't briefed correctly. She wasn't trained up on what she had to say. But also, she should have doubled down on, I'm not a transport minister. I'm not the Secretary of State for Transport. I'm in the Treasury. I'm not responsible for how this money is spent. I'm only responsible for freeing up this money, giving this money to the Department of Transport, and then they will invest it as they see fit. This is what she should have said. But she's obviously not trained up correctly to do this, and it's embarrassing for both her and the government, because as Nick Ferrari said, well, you know, it's an absolute shambles. How can people have confidence in your stewardship of the economy if you can't answer simple questions like this? She should have pushed back and said, actually, I'm not the transport secretary, Nick. You know I'm not. You invited me on this show to talk about funding, not about individual projects, individual infrastructure projects. So why are you asking me about the Hammersmith Bridge when I haven't been briefed on that? Now, she could say, we will see about money being available for all bridges, but I can't give you data on individual bridges because it's not my business. It's the responsibility of the Transport Minister, the Transport Secretary. So, as I said, the blame here is 50-50. Nick Ferrari looking for his gotcha, and he got his gotcha because this clip has actually gone viral, and Nick Ferrari, once again, doing a bit of a victory lap over it. But he's a bad journalist. He knows that this person in front of him is not briefed on individual projects and is not from the Department of Transport, but he's going to ask her transport questions anyway. And second, the minister here should have had her ducks in a row. She should have been prepared properly, and she should have stuck to her guns by saying, look, I'm from the Treasury, I'm not from the Department of Transport. So I think the blame here is 50-50. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot.